the INTUAURA SplendorII. Let's talk about it. This is a loan from a friend from HeadFi. This is a single dynamic driver IEM with an interesting packaging and an interesting shell. It is $259, and again, this is a loan. So let's start by talking about the build quality of this IEM. The shell of this IEM is fine. You'll notice it is a little bit of a wider shell than the Magic 1, a little bit taller, a little bit thicker. It has a nice nozzle. It is a comfy, cozy fitting IEM. Its nozzle is pretty thin, and there's no major problems with it. It has a nice lip on the end, so ear tips are easy to fit. Kind of has a little bit of a lip, and it does have a flat 2-pin cable connection. Its faceplate is also very beautiful, although it's a subjective thing, but I think it's beautiful, and they did a good job with it. Let's look at the cable. The cable is nice and black, nice ear hooks on it. The chin slider is easy to fit in place. It sits well really easily. I like the feel and the feeling of this cable on my skin. It is a very nice cable. The end of this cable feels durable. It has kind of a nice heft and weight to it. I like this cable. It's really nice. It's one of the better cables I've seen on IEMs. The case. It comes with the own little booties. So you can see them on like the Dunu Mirai, and you can buy them on NiceHack if you really want to for pretty cheap. I mean, it's a case. It's pretty nice. Not bad. One thing to note, this does have its own little DAC with it, kind of like the Meze Alba or some other IEMs. They're kind of hyped. They have their own little DAC with it, so that's kind of fun. So how would I describe the sound on this? Unique, V-shaped, a little bit interesting. This has an interesting presentation packaging. I like the packaging, but the sound itself is a little bit off. It's kind of hard to describe in words, but I feel like the resolution and imaging isn't as precise as I would want it to be, or as precise as other IEMs at this price point. But I don't find this IEM unenjoyable, but it's also not an all-arounder for as an IEM that I personally absolutely love. Let's start by talking about some graphs of these. All right, let's look at the graph of this thing. What you'll notice is that, this is normalized, I want to say, at 500. But you'll notice that there's a lot of a recession here in the lower mids, a lot of energy in the upper mids. It's kind of hard to get a lot of good presentation of this. Let's actually normalize this at 500, which is right around here. So this target curve and this graph will line up and kind of meet there. That's kind of what normalizing means. So we've normalized this. You'll notice that, the bass response is fine. It's sonically, it's a nice bass, but notice there's a ton of energy up here. So it's kind of harmon-esque, kind of not, kind of V. So this is kind of a unique signature, and it's not a bad signature, but it's something that I think is a little bit of a specialist. Let's look at a few other IEMs that I wanted to share graphs with you and talk about some comparisons and kind of go from there. Now this is $259, which puts you in like Dynaquattro money, which is probably my default pick at this time. But let's look at something like the Jazeera 61T. Like you look at the Jazeera 61T, and you'll notice it has a little bit better sub bass, a little bit better even kiltered, as a lot of this energy right here has been killed. And so it's a little bit smoother, it's a little bit more relaxed, it's a little bit more laid back, the Jazeera is. Whereas the SplendorII, like if you want to normalize this at 800, you'll notice that at 800, you'll notice how much crazy energy this has, which sometimes airy vocals are fine, but listening to this even on podcasts, listening to my favorite YouTubers, sometimes audiophile, sometimes other stuff, but I noticed their voices sound off. They sound a little bit weird and strange to me. But music on this does sound fine, but there's certain tracks Like certain vocal tracks, it will come across a little bit weird. Certain parts of this will come across thin. Like let's say you're sensitive here, and so let's say we normalize this at, say, I don't know, 3,000, right? And so what happens is this is the highest you can raise up your volume, and you'll notice that certain parts of this will sound kind of thin and lacking down here. And so this part is good, but this part down here will sound a little bit off and recessed. And that's just something I wanted to share with you. Personally, for this money, I would recommend the Jazeera 61T or something else. All right, next graph I wanted to show you is like the Performer 5. And you can just notice there's a lot more energy on this. The recessed mids kind of show up again. I don't know. Again, if you're looking for a neutral set, there's a lot of what I consider better options that are still fun and engaging and that have great sense of space and air and sound phenomenal, at least to my ear. Another one to look at is the Chopin. I mean, I consider the Chopin to be energetic. And when I look at the Splendora, there's just so much energy right here. And that's just a little bit too V for me. And like sometimes V and Harman are kind of the same thing, but you'll notice that like the Chopin is slightly Harman, kind of like, I think it was what Timmy described it as was his take on Harman. So it is a little bit more recessed around here, but a little bit of energy up here as well. So it's kind of an interesting approach. Actually, now that I think about it, the Chopin actually reminds me a little bit of Jay's Audio Australia. That's coming up here pretty soon. Another one to look at is the Rose Technic Star City. And I kind of liked Rose Technic Star City. I didn't like the build and comfort of it, but I did like the sound was kind of fun. It kind of has this upper mids here, but mids here, a little bit more bass, but you'll see that has a nice tuck in here. The Star City is like 90 bucks. And I think in some ways it's a little bit better. It's a little bit more even kiltered to my ear, and not just to my ear, but to the graph and to the long-term comfort of it. Although the Splendor 2 does have an absolutely dynamic, beautiful shell, great packaging for its price, I think they knocked packaging out of the park, but I think its tune could have been done a little bit more even kiltered in the upper air energy. We look at some other ones like, you know, this came with the Jazeera Clear, which I may or may not do a review of this one. If you guys are interested in the Jazeera Clear, just let me know in the comments below. But I mean, you'll notice here that the Jazeera Clear is like a little bit more of a sharp bass style, and in ear it sounds a lot better, and it sounds a little bit less sharp and more balanced to my ear. And it's a lot cheaper of an IM. It's a really pretty IM and a really good one. Again, let me know in the comments if you're interested in that set. The next one, another one, the Quintet. Good old Quintet. Just notice how flat and even that is, right? It has that nice dipped recession from 4 to 6K, kind of Harman-esque, but it lacks a little bit of energy there, and it's a really good sounding set. Another one to think about, like this is another set, like this reminds me a lot of, is the Forteza. And the Forteza is like a $60 set, sold by Kiwi Ears. Also a beautiful shell. Similar upper energy treble here, but a little bit better bass response. And so that's kind of something that I probably, if you're going to go for a V, you might want to try the Forteza first. And I think that might be the better way to go if you want to try a V signature rather than going for the Splendor 2. And here's the packaging of it. You can see some of the full things here. But yeah, it's an overall nice packaging and a nice IM. So as far as ranking the Splendor 2 up, I mean, it's $295. It has decent tone. Again, its mids are a little bit too much for me. It's nice, it has nice high and detail and air. Its imaging isn't bad. Again, vocals sound a little bit off to me, even in the spoken voice, like podcasts and gaming isn't something I would fully recommend on this. And I did try the DAC associated with it and found exactly the same results. It has good thump and feeling to it, like a good note weight feeling and good dynamics to that driver. I like dynamic drivers. It's good. Its soundstage and resolution, again, it's not bad. but like the way it images and the way I feel things around my head, just it doesn't work that well for me, and it doesn't feel that natural for what I am looking for. Overall, I've liked this IEM. I think this is a fine IEM that is a colored presentation with a V presentation. I think it has quality and characteristics that I would recommend demoing first, and if you demo it first and love it, go ahead and buy it. But for me and for my recommendation, it doesn't have what I want. It doesn't have that right tonality for me, and this isn't something I do just from graphs. It's something I do from listening and trying to get a figure on it. Is it completely unenjoyable? No, most IEMs are enjoyable. This is a beautiful IEM. I have, reviewed some IEMs on channel that are much more expensive that I hate much more than this. And so I wouldn't really call this a bad IEM, but not something that gets a recommendation. And that's kind of what I'm trying to say. Solid IEM, no recommendation. But again, if you're on the fence, again, I would probably try to demo it first or get it from a store. You can return it after you listen to it, and then maybe go from there. Thanks for watching. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments below. Hope you guys have a great day.
You're still here. It's over. Go home. Go watch another IEM video. It's done. That's the entire video. What more do you want?